Alright guys, welcome back to Frugal Homestead. And as you can see, the tiny house wood burner is freaking rolling. It's hot, buddy. But today,
back up.
today we're going to talk about cookies. Now, what we mean by cookies is any piece that's less than 16 inches long. So it could be anything from something that's like 12 or 13 inches, 6 inches, it doesn't matter. This is what we burn, and I want to explain why. Now, to us, this is a byproduct. In other words, when we're cutting firewood to sell that's 16 inches, like this piece of hickory, it is the perfect length for most wood burners, normally. Now these bring us a premium. So if I was to say that this is worth somewhere around 20, maybe 30 cents for this stick of wood, you'd say you're insane. But I would say that there's 6 of these in each square foot, and there is 4 foot by 8 foot is 32 square feet. So if we're selling those for 110 and you break it down, that's probably somewhere between 10 and 20 cents for that stick of wood. Now this is hickory, and that's the pricing on the hickory. So why would I burn 10 cents, let's say, when I can burn free? Because we pick up tree service wood and we pick up stuff, and these are the ends that we cut off the logs. Because we'll pick them up in 5, 6 foot, 3 foot, random sizes.
Random.
And we cut them off into 16. Or you cut up a tree and it just ends up at the end, you got this chunk left. Now the other benefit to these is they dry extremely fast because it's shorter lengths. All right, so we throw these in a pile and then just pull them out and burn them, and they're all insanely dry. Now obviously we'd love to have more of these because, and once again, this is white oak, I think. These burn way better than having to load handfuls and handfuls of these. But as you can see, they burn amazingly well. But there's another reason why we burn cookies, not only because of the cost prospectus, but because it doesn't fit comfortably in our stove. Even through the door, this is hard to put in. And when you get 2 or 3 of these in, it's a pain to adjust them in there. Now this is a catalytic stove, so the hot top gets extremely hot. I mean extremely hot. So when you're trying to mess with getting these wedged in through the door, because you have to put it in this way and then that way, it's just a pain. It's an absolute pain. And the bigger the pieces, the bigger the pain it is. The benefit with these is, if you look in there now, is we don't have to just put them like this. We can turn them like this. Whereas a 16-inch piece will not fit in there. Long ways. So we can stack them up, or you can just stack like 3 or 4 across. It doesn't matter. It gives you way more opportunities to fill the stove to the maximum. And if we wanted to fire up faster, if you start putting these in, it fills the entire stove and there's no room for air to go in between. It closes off because there's so much material in there. Whereas, as I said, if you take these and you start cross stacking them, you're making almost a chimney effect where it can go through the whole thing and breathe better. Now, the one thing I do want to say that sucks about this is there's no stacking these. Don't even try. There's no stacking. Just give it up. So it's very inefficient on space. And we are working on that, but I don't think there's any good way. I think we're going to just basically build bins on top of pallets and be able to just put a pallet outside the door with a tractor and bring in what we need. Now, inside the house, we have started using a firewood bag to bring our wood into the house rather than having a rack to try and put these stupid little things in. And that's worked out very well and is also keeping a lot of the dirt, bark, and mess out of our house, which I know you love because you do most of the cleaning up around here. But I just wanted to touch on this because I think that a lot of people don't understand the concept, because we also did a very, very popular video about buying firewood blocks, which are cutoffs from a pallet company. And I'll link that down below. But originally it was titled I Quit Cutting Firewood because I did. I stopped cutting firewood completely because I could buy those blocks so cheap, there wasn't any point to it. You know, my hourly rate, I couldn't compete with what they were selling those for, the truckload.
Right.
There was no way. I mean, if I can go to a job site and make 20, 25 an hour, why would I go out and cut wood and basically pay myself 15 an hour? That's silly. Now that we sell wood, and to be honest, we don't cut that much wood off our property realistically. We get given so much wood now. I don't know what happened over the last 2 years, but it seems like everybody's trying to give us some wood. So we cut all of it down and sell it and automatically make our own byproduct. This is cash to us because if I'm going to have somebody pay me for this, why would I burn it when I have these unlimited amounts? And we also do use them in our big wood burning furnace in the main house, but we cut dead standing and make it big chunks and use these to pack in all the little corners around there to get longer burn times, basically. So it really makes for optimizing both of our wood burners very easy. And one thing I want to make sure you guys understand is, and you'll see wood cut in like the UK is cut at 12 inches. Mm-hmm. There's a huge reason they do that. Not only because the stoves are smaller, much like this little guy, but also you can take two of the exact same wood species, exact same pieces, and cut them. The 12-inch one or the cookie one will dry so much faster, almost double as fast as this one will. And the reason for that is they have less area it's got to dry inward than the big piece. Now, on the exterior, it's said that you dry about a 1/2 inch to 1 inch in every year, is what they say, especially on like oaks. But we've easily proved that wood can dry extremely fast in the shorter lengths than the full-blown lengths. And we've done testing to prove it because I wasn't sure there for a while. Now, I will say the blocks, and this is still argued to this day in the comments, when they go through the sawmill, much like how they make pellets for wood burning stove, heat and pressure will melt the oils in here and the tannins and seal the wood. So our blocks we bring home take longer to season because they're cut. Those. Yes. So whereas this will go 1 inch, let's say in a year, into the block and dry, those sealed tannins and stuff, it's not broke, it's cut. So it closes off all the grains and all the pores and everything in the wood, and the heat from that blade seals it up. So it takes longer to dry. So if you're burning those blocks, make sure you're getting yourself plenty of early extra time to let them dry, or do a quick split down them and you'll be amazed how fast they'll dry. But that is the one downfall to buying those that we have found over the years.
Yeah. These are nice too because of the weight of them.
Yes.
You don't have to lug a big log.
Nope. And the smaller pieces like this, you can optimize them even better. We split up a bunch this year, and in looking back at it now, we probably shouldn't.
Probably shouldn't have split them as small.
It was kind of a waste of time because if we had the rounds that were only this long but that big around, you can roll 1 or 2 of those in there and you'd be amazed how long they burn in round form versus putting the same amount of wood in there in the split form. It's just it burns slower and it burns hotter for longer, and we can turn down the damper some. Like right now it's raging and we're at half. So I'm going to have to turn it down some more because it's going to get too hot. And it burns the wood at a higher rate because it can break down these smaller pieces too fast compared to the rounds. So I just think that so many people don't understand this concept of cookies. I know that a lot of other creators have talked about this, but I don't think they talk about it enough. And I think even back in our old days, when we used to do maybe like 20 or 30 truckloads a year, and we were selling it super cheap, had we have thought about it like this, we could have burnt these and did them 20 or 30 to sell, and maybe a combination of some blocks, and done much better. But we burnt cords and cords of wood that would have been considered this.
Yes.
Instead of selling these and making the money and then using those.
I think a lot of people have a tendency to leave these in the woods.
Yes.
When they're cutting, I think they cut that end off of it and they're like, oh, it's not 16 inches. I'll just leave that here.
Yeah. And that's, even we did that this year. And we have sat back and talked about it since then, because this has been installed this year. In the very beginning of our season this year, we had a sugar maple job. And they brought it down. And I kid you not, this sugar maple, I could have taken, there were 3 people could have held hands and not got around the trunk of this thing. And they had sliced up the trunk in like 12 to 14 inch pieces, like big, huge cookies.
Big.
And I mean, you couldn't even flip them over. It was insane how heavy they were. We left those.
We're like, those are really big and they're going to be a pain to mess with. Let's just leave them. They're not long enough to sell.
Yep. And we left
now
them
we're
there.
like, that was a lot of wood we left on the table.
If I'd have taken and busted them down with the Frisker's axe and put that in the truck, I probably would have had 3 to 4 truckloads of, 12, 14 inch material. And that would have been like a month and a half burning in this thing. And that sugar maple, man, that stuff burns real good. Yeah. And I could have left it in big chunks too and just threw it in there. But I'm not kidding, guys. This thing was massive. That's why we didn't want to mess with it. And what we're learning is, because a lot of people can't move these huge logs, the guys that at the tree services, they cut them in like 12 and 14 inches so that you can try and roll them around and move them or bust them. Nobody wants those. So nobody goes and picks them up. We can go in there, bust them into smaller pieces, toss them in the truck, bring them home, and it's free wood. Nobody else wants it. Nobody will go touch the job because the wood's too big. Or you get a lot of pieces that are 30 inches or 28 inches. They just cut random stuff. You have to cut them down. Most people will be like, oh, I don't want to pick it up unless it's all cut to 16. We don't care. We go pick it up, we hack it down, and these pieces left over keep us nice and warm without losing our money.
Right.
So now when we're out cutting in the woods, even at our woods, which we do need to do some thinning this year, we cut everything to 16, but I can promise you no piece will be left in the woods. No stumps will be left sticking up. We cut them all off. We don't care what the length is. Bring them up, throw them in a pile, and heat our homes for free every year from it. I really think this is something a lot of people, and like you said, I do believe people leave a lot out in the woods, because I can remember as a kid, if it wasn't like 14 inches, we left a lot of stuff just lay. Yeah. And it's so bad to do because it's free heat.
Right.
I mean, you have to go out and work. Why wouldn't you pick up that extra
Not to
little
mention
piece?
you want to use as much of the tree as you can.
And I understand from a stacking point, because like the cutouts, when you get ready to drop a tree, I've seen them left everywhere. Nobody picks those up.
We always throw them in the truck.
We do. We pick them up, put them in the truck. Keep a separate pile for your cutoffs, guys. I promise you, you'll be glad you did. Now, for those of you that I call bad sellers, this is not firewood. This does not belong with this. So those of you that want to sell cordwood and you have that on there, that's not cool. That's not cool. I just want to say that because there are people out there that do that, and a lot of people don't appreciate it, and we end up getting your customers because they complain about that. And then they see ours where everything's measured to length, and you take and you get a picture of it before I load it in the truck. You get a picture of it in the truck, and then I bring it to you. And you can feel free to stack it back yourself. You're going to get the amount that you paid for. And this is not, you can't get the amount you paid for if your wood looks like this.
Right.
So, just want to get my little rant out there. I mean, I love the fact that you're giving me your customers, but that's not cool. And with that said, if you haven't already, and I don't know why you wouldn't have, come on, we're sharing our cookies with you. Go down, hit subscribe, hit the notification bell so you see all of our upcoming videos. Give us a like, leave us a comment. Do you guys burn cookies? Are you a seller that makes this but burns this? I think there's more people out here that do this than we think.
Probably.
I think that even some people that maybe heat their own houses go do the same thing and sell this and keep this as like a little side hustle. I bet you there's a bunch. I'm going to be waiting down in the comments to hear from you guys because I'm very intrigued about this. But this is why we burn cookies. And as you can see, that stuff burns hot. But all this talk about cookies has me hungry. You gonna make me some cookies tonight?
I will.
All right. So with that said, we will see you guys in the next one. That thing's getting hot.
It is. I gotta move.
Jeez.